how might future LDN trials better incorporate sex as a biological variable, and what are some critical design changes? I think that's associated with your presentation.
Well, I think it's really complicated. Number one, the funding is a huge challenge. We need that understanding just that there are fundamental sex differences. I don't want to get too political, but if anybody has kind of read about how grants are funded currently? Or not funded, yes. We can't even use the word female to attain grants now. I'm actually quite concerned for our ability, and we'll be hopefully talking to our colleagues around the world that are doing this research. But we really need PIs. We need the investigators to have a real vested interest in women's medicine specifically, and to design RCTs, both prospective and just even starting with clinical. We start with case studies, right? And then retrospective studies. That takes a lot of time to look back. There's just not that data there. So much of it is anecdotal, but we have about 10 years of papers going back into sex differences in opioid receptors. Sebastian pulled this up, broadening it to the talk about sex differences in TLRs. TLRs are everything. We geek out about TLRs all the time. I do. My colleague, Mark Cooper, and myself have written papers and chapters on toll-like receptors and TLR medicine. With COVID, the answer was there all along. It's been there, and we were shouting it in 2020, right after the pandemic started. But it requires just that sensitivity and saying, okay, these chronic conditions, autoimmune, 8-to-1 women, most of them. It's not that we don't have a lack of patients to use, but we have to get proper studies with properly selected patients and have the nuance to actually want to see these studies succeed. So this is another dirty trick in pharma. We actually make studies that are bad studies that are destined to fail. We need to use properly dosed naltrexone at those low levels that I discussed. Dr. Kim, Dr. Marcus, myself, who use at the microgram level, trying to find that maximum effective dose for these chronic conditions.